Today's lesson is going to talk about percents. If you don't remember, the percentage symbol means basically over or out of 100. So basically, whenever you see a percent, you basically put that number over 100. That's what it means. Percent is how much out of 100. You can convert this to a decimal instead of a fraction just by moving the decimal left 2 spaces. So in these examples, we're just going to really quick write these all as fractions and also as decimals. So 4% actually means 4 out of 100. As a decimal, all you would do is move this decimal 1, 2 spaces, and you're going to put a 0 in the place order. So 4% is the same as 0.04. 6% would be 6 out of 100. As a decimal, 0.06. We have 25 out of 100, or 0.25. 50% would obviously be 50 out of 100, which is a half, or 0.5. 114%, so that actually means 114 out of 100, so you write it just like that. Or you can write 1.14. And 100% would be actually 100 out of 100, and that is a perfect whole. Okay, so anytime you have 1, that's really, 1 point something is really close to 100%. So what we're going to start doing is we're going to start with translation problems, just practicing them by hand and making sure that we can handle that. So first thing you need to know is when you calculate percentages of something, translation helps tremendously. So for example, in type 1 problems, so they'll give you a percent in original. We have 50%, so that's 0.5. Of means times 60. Right, so if you can do that by hand or if you have a calculator, you type that in, you're going to get 30. Let's say you don't have a calculator, you could also change the problem like this is the same problem, it's just worded differently. It says what equals 50 out of 100 times 60. So basically it's that problem. And then if you were doing this by hand, I would reduce this to 1/2, and then half of 60 is 30. Type 2 problem, they'll give you a percentage and the new price or new amount, whatever is the answer after you do the work. So it says 20%, so you first want to write 0.2. Of means times. That says of what? Well, if you don't know what to write, you're going to have to use a variable. And then you see is, and then 40. So obviously we want to divide by 0.2 on both sides to solve for x. So this one we actually do a little bit of solving, and we're going to get 200, believe it or not. Same problem down here, just different wording. So we have 40. We have is 20%, so 20 out of 100. And then it says of how much. So this is where your x would go. So you can see it's almost identical to the top problem, just a little different. Right, 20 out of 100, if you don't know, that is 1/5. So I always reduce if I can. So now my problem looks like this. 40 equals basically 1/5 x. Okay, so we're going to multiply both sides by 5, and we get 200 as our answer. And then type 3, they'll give you the new price and the original, and they'll actually ask for the percentage, and you want to be careful with these ones. So it first starts out by asking what percent. So you have to remember, for what, we're going to use like n. Percent literally means out of 100. So n out of 100 of 30 is means equals, and then 3. So we are going to solve this equation. The first thing I would do is I would reduce 30 to 3 and 100 to 10. I'm going to rewrite it over here so it's a little bit neater for me. I have 3n over 10 equals 3. So if I want to solve the equation, I multiply both sides by 10/3. But either way, I'm going to get 10. So the answer would be 10%. Because they did ask what percent. This is the same problem. Again, it's just worded differently. We have 3 is equals what percent? That would be your n out of 100 of times and then 30. So same problem as above, it's just flip-flopped around. All right, so we're going to move on now. We're going to try doing mental percentages because that's really important in the real world to be able to do that kind of skill. So your most common percentages are 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and 50. You see those most often. The trick with doing 10%, because that's the very easiest percent, is you're just going to divide by 10. And if you don't know how to do that, you just move the decimal once to the left. So you should never need a calculator to do 10% of anything. So the example would be 10% of 40. Divide that by 10, you get 4. Done. With 15%, you are still going to divide by 10, but then you're also going to take half of whatever you get. So if you divide by 10 and get 2, then you need to take 1. And what you do is you'll actually add your answers together. So if we want to do 15% of 40, right, you first have to divide by 10 and you get 4. Take half of that, you get 2. Add them together, you got 6. 20%, you're going to divide by 10, but then you're going to double your answer, and that's your new answer. So if you want 20% of 40, you're going to take 10%, or divide by 10, which is 4, but then you're going to double it to make 8, and that's 20%. 25% is a little bit different. We don't divide by 10. That would create too much work. Instead, we're going to divide by 2, and then we're going to cut that number in half. So if you want 25% of 40, okay, we're going to divide 40 by 2, and that's 20. And then we're going to cut that in half to make 10. So 10 is 25% of 40. If you want 30%, you're going to divide by 10 again. So we're back to dividing by 10. And then you triple your answer. So if you want 30% of 40, you're going to divide by 10. That makes 4. And if you triple that or multiply by 3, you get 12. So 12 is 30% of 40. And just so you know, if you have 30%, that should be double 15%. So 6 doubled makes 12. That's how you know you're doing this right. And then last but not least, 50%, you're going to divide by just 2. I don't think we need to do an example because most people are fine with 50%. 50% means half, so you just split the number in half. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically fill out this table. So these are all your starting amounts, 50 or 300 and so on. And we're going to get each percentage using those shortcuts. And this is your chance to practice. So 10%, you just divide by 10. So 50 divided by 10 is 5. 300 divided by 10 is 30. This will get you 50. Move the decimal once to the left, you get 2.24. Once to the left, you get 42 cents. Once to the left, you get 1.28. Then you're going to go here to 15%. So we'll just do the first column for this. So 15% means you divide it by 10, you get 5. And then it says that you're supposed to take half of that. 2.5 is half of 5. And you're supposed to add them together. So 7.5 is 15% of 50. 20%, you're going to take 10% or divide by 10, you're going to get 5. And then you're going to double it to make 10. 25%, you're just going to divide 50 by 2. That gets 25. And then you're going to do it again. 25 divided by 2 is 12 and a half. 30%, the trick says divide by 10, you get 5. And then triple your answer, that makes 15. And then 50% of 50, so you just think, what's half of 50? Oh, it's 25. So what I want you to do is I want you to pause the video and I want you to go through and try to fill out each column. So just be careful about the decimal ones. Take your time on them.
So you can go ahead and check your answers with the table and hopefully things worked out. Just be careful with the cents
Sometimes you have to slow it down a little bit, make sure you're adding correctly. All right, so for this next section, this is kind of a review of what we've done so far. So I want you to go ahead and set up all your translations. And then the top part, you are allowed to use a calculator, so feel free to pick up a calculator for that. The bottom part, you have to be able to do without a calculator. Okay, so go ahead and take a look at the setups and see how you did. You did have to round off in numbers 2 and 3, so that's what they would have rounded to if you were doing this on a cash register. So it's always good to do it like you would do money. Remember, you have to use your shortcuts for these because you have to be able to do those by hand. The last thing we're going to talk about is sales tax. So sales tax in Pennsylvania is 6%. And that means basically for every dollar you pay for an item, you pay 6 cents for every dollar. Not 60 cents, 6 cents. So sometimes you can do mental computation of your sales tax, and you have something small like $5. If you think there's $5, 6 cents per dollar, you're going to pay 30 cents. So your total bill would be $5 plus the 30 cents. So $5.30. Here we're going to calculate the sales tax of each price below, and then we're going to use that to figure out the total. So all you have to do is take your original price plus your original price times the tax rate, which is 6%. Okay, so that's anytime you do a percentage increase, that's how you set it up. Yeah. When you add 15 plus $15 times 6 cents, you're going to end up getting $15.90. Next problem, so again, 36 plus your price times your tax rate. And we'll just set this one up while we're at it. So we're going to do 200,000 plus 200,000 times 6%. If we do 36 plus 36 times 6%, we're going to get $38.16. And in the last problem, we're actually not going to use a calculator for this. You can do 6 cents times 200,000. You just do 6 times 2, which is 12. And then you tack on the zeros. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then all you have to do is realize this is 2 decimal places left. So you have to move your answer 2 decimal places left. So you don't really need a calculator to do that. So you're actually going to do 200,000 plus this would now be 12,000. So I'll just kind of get rid of these zeros. And now your answer is going to be 212,000.